In the quiet hum of a suburban home, a profound and heart-wrenching ritual unfolded over several days this spring as Sarah Jenkins, 52, meticulously packed the belongings of her 85-year-old mother, Eleanor Vance. Each folded blouse, each bundled photograph was a tangible piece of a life being carefully dismantled, not for a journey of adventure, but for a reluctant, necessary transition to an assisted living facility. The act, born of love and necessity, marked the end of Eleanor's independent life in the home she had cherished for over 6 decades. And for Sarah, it was a poignant, guilt-laden testament to the relentless march of time and the agonizing decisions faced by millions of caregivers across the nation. The task began in Eleanor's bedroom, a sanctuary of floral patterns and antique furniture where the scent of lavender and old paper mingled with the faint, clinical odor of antiseptic wipes. Sarah, a marketing executive who had largely put her career on hold to manage her mother's escalating needs, worked with a quiet determination, her movements precise but heavy with unspoken emotion. She started with the closet, a time capsule of Eleanor's impeccable style, tweed suits from the 1970s, elegant silk scarves, and a collection of handmade quilts. Each item held a story, a memory, prompting Sarah to pause, sometimes to smile faintly, other times to blink back tears. This was her favorite, Sarah murmured, holding up a sky-blue cardigan, a garment Eleanor had worn on countless family outings, its softness now a ghost of her mother's embrace. She always said it brought out her eyes. The decision to move Eleanor had not been made lightly. It was the culmination of years of gradual decline, marked by increasingly frequent episodes of confusion, falls, and a growing inability to manage daily tasks. Eleanor, a fiercely independent woman who had navigated life with grace and resilience, had begun to forget names, appointments, and, most alarmingly, to leave the stove on or wander aimlessly through her own neighborhood. Sarah, the youngest of 3 siblings, had become the primary caregiver, a role that had steadily consumed her life, transforming her from daughter to watchful guardian, cook, cleaner, nurse, and confidant. The once effortless conversations had become circular, punctuated by repeated questions and frustrated silences. The vibrant woman who had taught Sarah to bake, to garden, and to appreciate classical music was slowly, irrevocably fading. It started subtly, a few years ago, Sarah recounted, her voice tinged with the exhaustion of long-held grief. Little things, misplacing her keys more often, forgetting to pay a bill. We just chalked it up to normal aging. Then it escalated. She'd get lost driving somewhere familiar, or insist she'd already eaten dinner when she hadn't. There was an incident where she tried to pay for groceries with a coupon from 1998. The family's initial response was to increase support, a part-time aide, meal delivery services, and Sarah's constant vigilance. But as Eleanor's Alzheimer's progressed, the patchwork of care proved insufficient. Her falls became more serious, requiring stitches and hospital visits. The once immaculate house grew cluttered, reflecting Eleanor's inability to organize and clean. The danger of her living alone became undeniable. The turning point came one bitter winter night when a neighbor called Sarah in hysterics. Eleanor had been found on her front porch, thinly dressed, trying to water frozen rose bushes at 2 a.m., convinced it was summer. "That was it," Sarah said, her eyes distant. "That was the night I knew we couldn't keep her safe here anymore. It broke my heart, but it was also a moment of terrifying clarity." The subsequent family meeting was fraught with emotion. Sarah's older brother, David, who lived across the country, felt immense guilt for not being closer, while her sister, Lisa, who lived an hour away, struggled with the notion of their mother leaving her beloved home. But ultimately, they deferred to Sarah, who bore the brunt of the daily care. The decision was unanimous, though deeply painful. Eleanor needed professional, round-the-clock care. Presenting the idea to Eleanor was perhaps the hardest part. Sarah had rehearsed the conversation countless times, anticipating resistance, anger, and sorrow. Eleanor, in a rare moment of lucidity, listened with a blank expression, then simply said, "But this is my home, dear. Where would I go, dear?" Sarah explained the new facility, the pleasant room, the activities, the safety. Eleanor's response fluctuated between quiet agreement, tearful protest, and, most commonly, complete forgetfulness, asking a few hours later, "What's all this talk about moving?" This cognitive inconsistency, while heartbreaking, paradoxically made the actual move slightly easier, as Eleanor's understanding of the permanence of the situation was fleeting. The items Sarah packed were a curated representation of Eleanor's life, a collage of her identity. In the dresser drawers, she found delicate handkerchiefs embroidered with Eleanor's maiden initials, a gift from her own mother. In a small, ornate jewelry box, nestled among costume pieces, was a faded photograph of Eleanor and her late husband, Arthur, on their wedding day, their smiles radiant with youthful hope. Sarah carefully selected a handful of these treasures, knowing that only a fraction of a lifetime could accompany Eleanor to her new, smaller space. It's like trying to condense a novel into a haiku, Sarah reflected, carefully wrapping a porcelain figurine of a bluebird, a gift from Arthur years ago. You pick the most essential parts, the ones that tell the story, but so much gets left behind. The physical act of packing was also a journey through Eleanor's past. In the attic, Sarah unearthed boxes of old letters, yellowed newspaper clippings detailing local events Eleanor had participated in, and children's drawings, her own among them. Each discovery was a reminder of the vibrant, active woman Eleanor once was, a dedicated teacher, a passionate gardener, a pillar of her community. This stark contrast between Eleanor's past vitality and her current fragility amplified Sarah's sense of loss, not just for her mother's independence, but for the shared memories that now felt increasingly one-sided. The emotional toll on caregivers like Sarah is immense and often invisible. Dr. Emily Hayes, a geriatric specialist at local University Medical Center, emphasized the profound psychological impact of such decisions. Families often grapple with immense guilt, feeling as though they are abandoning their loved ones, Dr. Hayes explained in an interview. But the reality is that caregiving for someone with advanced dementia or severe physical limitations is a 24/7 job that often exceeds the capacity of even the most devoted family member. Assisted living facilities and nursing homes, when chosen carefully, can provide a level of specialized care and safety that simply isn't feasible at home. Dr. Hayes noted that the process of moving a parent is not just about logistics, it's a profound shift in the parent-child dynamic. The child becomes the parent, making decisions that an adult parent would normally make for themselves. This role reversal can be incredibly disorienting and emotionally draining for both parties, even when the parent's cognitive abilities are compromised. She added that society, while increasingly aware of the challenges of an aging population, often fails to adequately support family caregivers, leading to burnout, depression, and significant financial strain. Sarah's story is not unique. Millions of adult children are navigating these exact same agonizing decisions right now, often in isolation. As the packing progressed, Sarah found herself making practical choices that were steeped in symbolic meaning. Eleanor's extensive cookbook collection, a testament to her love for entertaining, had to be largely left behind. Eleanor no longer cooked. Her gardening tools, once her pride and joy, remained in the shed, for her new home had no garden plot. Instead, Sarah focused on comfort and familiarity, soft blankets, a few framed photos, a favorite reading lamp, and a small music player preloaded with Eleanor's beloved classical pieces. These were the anchors, the small fragments of a life that would help ground Eleanor in her new environment. The day of the move arrived with a clear, crisp sky, a stark contrast to the storm raging within Sarah. Professional movers carefully loaded the selected furniture in boxes, while Sarah remained by Eleanor's side, trying to keep her calm and engaged. "We're just going on a little trip, Mom," she repeated gently, holding Eleanor's frail hand. Eleanor, dressed in the blue cardigan Sarah had packed, looked around her living room, her gaze lingering on familiar objects, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. "It's very empty," she observed, her voice small. "Is Arthur coming?" The question pierced Sarah's heart, a reminder of the constant, unfillable void in Eleanor's memory. At the Serenity Gardens Assisted Living Facility, a bright, newly renovated space, Eleanor's room had been carefully arranged by Sarah the day before. The familiar armchair, the framed photos, the bluebird figurine on the nightstand, all were placed to evoke a sense of home. The staff, warm and welcoming, greeted Eleanor with gentle smiles, introducing themselves and offering a cup of tea. For a moment, Eleanor seemed disoriented, her eyes darting nervously around the unfamiliar room. But then, as a nurse began playing one of her cherished classical melodies, a faint smile touched her lips. In the weeks and months that followed, Eleanor slowly began to adjust to her new routine. There were good days, filled with moments of surprising lucidity and enjoyment of the facility's activities, music therapy, gentle exercise, social hours. And there were harder days, marked by confusion, agitation, and a profound yearning for a home she could no longer remember. Sarah visited frequently, often finding her mother engaged in a conversation with another resident or humming along to a song. The visits were different now. No longer burdened by the relentless demands of caregiving, Sarah could